Welcome to the Creating with Beauty podcast, where God's love and beauty flow through our hearts and hands with peace and intention. Here you'll find honest conversations, inspiring stories, and gentle invitations to create with the beauty and wonder already in your life. Beauty is both a gift and an invitation, leading us down a sacred path with Jesus. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm excited to share my great friend, Alisa Millsap from Ella and Ruby's in Nebraska. And Alisa has such a beautiful way of taking the everyday moments in nature and turning them into the most beautiful, creative offerings. And I'm so excited to talk with her today and talk about her process and see just how the Lord leads and guides her through her creativity, because it's so evident in all that she does. So Alisa, would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. I'm really excited. My name is Allisa. Live on a farm in Nebraska with my husband and our dog, Harley. We have one daughter. And yeah, I've been creating for most of my life.
Okay. And so when you were a little girl, since you've been creating for most of your life,
Yeah.
did your creativity, were you into the same things then that you are now? Were you fascinated with nature and, trying to take things from nature and turn it into something more? Or what did it look like for you when you were younger?
When I was younger, so elementary, yeah, I was drawing, painting. Middle school and high school was a little different. I worked in the same mediums, but I was a lot of, painting a lot of masks, making a
Oh,
lot of masks. Fan of the opera, I was just completely in love with that whole story. And I don't know if that was, you know, uh, an inspiration, but yeah, I look back through a lot of my artwork from middle school and high school, and masks and candlelight were were a big
ooh,
image.
yeah.
So
And so was there a time that you decided to believe that you truly were an artist? Is there like a definitive moment? Or is this because I know it just seems like even a lot of artists still say, "Oh, I'm not really an artist." Like you never feel like you quite arrive, right? It seems that
right.
way. But you are an artist, as we know. And was there a moment when you kind of felt like, "Hey, maybe I am an artist," or not so much?
Um, Last year, I think I finally started to get an
Oh,
inkling that yes, I am an artist. Um, I have shared on social media my struggles with anxiety and panic attacks. And so that took a lot of my creativity away. And so fighting my way back, um, God took me on a whole different road. And so then last year, I created some paintings that really focused on detail that I found in nature. And I painted those. And when I was done, I'm just like, wow, look what I did. Look what I did with God. I remember that moment. I'm like, okay, I I can't say I have arrived, into that identity as an artist completely, but I feel like I'm finally stepping into it.
you do it so well.
Thank you.
You really
Thank you.
do. I mean, you have so many, I don't want to say, you have so many ways in which you can create. You have like so, and I think a lot of creatives are like that, in all honesty. I think that we're kind of made to believe that we should be good at one thing,
Right.
but I think so many of us are loving all the things. And there's really nothing wrong with loving all of the things, right? And you have such a great way of just putting your hands into your paint and your paintbrushes and creating these beautiful paintings, or, dyeing fabric or making candles or using your oh my gosh, what's your weave?
Loom.
Loom and
Loom.
warp, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have both. Yeah. So using those things and just making the most amazing things with your hands. And so it's just like when I think of an artist, I think of you, because you have so many things that you just enjoy doing, and in all of it you also tend you reach for the Lord with it, and it's just so amazing to see. And so living in Nebraska on a farm, do you feel that that has encouraged your creativity or possibly hindered it? I mean, which, how do you think that goes?
Oh, it probably could go both ways if I
Yeah.
would be honest. Yeah, I grew up here. I went to school here, graduated school from here, went off to college for about 5.5 years, and then I came back just because I had a job offer I couldn't refuse. Figured I'd just work here for a couple years, get the experience, and then I would leave. I feel the most at home with mountains and hills,
Mm.
pine trees, little creeks, little lakes. You don't get that here in the middle of Nebraska. So I struggled with it. I remember, it's been probably 15 years ago. I was begged God, okay, open my eyes to the beauty here, because if I can't see it, I know I'm going to go crazy, you
Yeah.
know. And so he did answer that prayer. I've been able to find inspiration in the wildflowers here and in the animals, the birds. I just love the birds that we're surrounded by. But the art community here is small.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are some very generous and beautiful artists here, but I have found a lot of opportunities, in the Black Hills of South Dakota as well. And so I tend to go there for my art, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
For your paintings, you go there for
yeah,
your paintings.
yeah, for
Yeah.
my paintings. I've been
Mm-hmm.
in a plein air event for
Mm-hmm.
4 years there. And they're just beautiful people, very encouraging and generous with their words and their help there as well. But
Well, and also too, you have your work in the John Crane Gallery,
yes,
correct?
I do.
And so that's just I think another way to show your connection to that area and how much God moves you, and when you're there and with what
Mhm.
you can create. And I believe you draw closer to Him there, because it's definitely seen in your work. And then for that to also be represented in a gallery is just another testimony to
Yeah.
Him caring for you, right? And showing His love. And here, let's just put these in the gallery and share this. And yeah, I love that part
Yeah,
of your story. That's just such a neat blessing, I guess I could say.
it
And with your
is.
paintings, and you have your paintings, and then you have your weaving, and
Mhm.
so is there one medium that you find brings you more peace? Not that one's better than the other, but is there one where like you
Right.
get into and your body is like, okay, your mind maybe quiets down with anxiety, and allows you to just relax more, or are they even?
Um, because I'm multi-disciplined, I guess you can say, in my creative journey, I think each of them offer peace in a different way.
Okay.
Okay, so my paintings, I paint from photographs that I have taken. And so when I'm painting from that, I immediately go back to where I was at in that moment. So I can actually feel the sun on my face, hear the birds in the background. If I'm painting a lake from the Black Hills, I can hear the water lapping along the shore. Um, I'm just right back in that moment. And so, because I find so much peace in nature, painting offers that for me. Weaving, however, it's the sound of the shuttles, the shafts moving up and down, the treadles, the actual movement. It's like riding a bike, I guess, or on a boat. And
Okay.
so, and that also offers me peace because my body is more relaxed when I'm weaving than anything else.
Okay.
Making brooms and leather dustpans, the smell, it reminds me of playing and being in my grandparents' barn with the hay and the saddles, and it's just a very calming um, scent. And so I don't think there's one that just,
Okay. But I just love the journey that you took us on, like with the descriptions of everything, like hearing the water, like
hmm
painting and just in your mind you're hearing the water or smelling the leather and where that takes you in time in your mind is just that's just such a wonderful I guess testimony uh because I don't know that everybody can do that so easily. When I'm thinking of myself, I would have to think hard. I would have to think hard about that. But that again, I think is um, maybe just because you're so in tune with what you need, and what your body needs. And you've been doing this for a while that you can
hmm
identify what those things are for you now. So I think it's actually something really amazing to be open to receiving when you're creating, right?
Yeah.
Versus just like maybe just doing something to do it and
Right.
but there's deeper levels and you are very good at expressing and sharing those deeper levels. And I love your social media for that reason. I love what you create and what you share, but I also am so drawn into those deeper levels that you share. You just take us on a journey. So
Oh,
it's just
yeah.
so amazing to be able to witness and see. So keep that up.
I plan on it. Yeah,
I always
thank
keep
you.
telling you, keep doing that. So, what are some ways that you embrace your making during the demands of everyday life?
Well, I have learned that creating for me helps my mental health.
Okay.
When I first started experiencing anxiety and panic attacks, I would absolutely just freeze sitting at an easel. I would just
Mm,
be completely frozen in fear. I could not actually pick up the brush and put it to the canvas. I'd walk out without doing anything. And so the journey that God has taken me on has brought me back. And so I know that creating for me is for my peace and my joy. But household stuff, needs to be done too. We need to cook and clean. And so I have found that my biggest, um, I don't know how, moments in time that I'm the most creative is in the afternoon and early evening. And so
okay.
mornings I can spend working on doing dishes or throwing supper in a crock pot or doing a load of laundry. So I can at least get that done a little bit out of the way in the morning. And then I'm okay with creating all afternoon and night if time allows.
That's a great point to kind of pay attention to when it works best for you. Like when
hmm
you can be the most relaxed and when you can be open to, the intuition and whatever the Lord's leading you in versus creating something and then be like, oh, I have a mountain of dishes to do or I got to do
Right.
dinner. I mean, it's different for everybody. I know that, but that's also to what you just shared um, is why you can go into the deeper moments in your creativity, I believe, because at one point you couldn't. So
hmm
you really had to work to teach yourself to train your mind to allow you to be open to that. And so I think that's actually probably one of the mechanisms that you're using to be able to do so is to okay, God help me through to this and to just focus on him and those beautiful things and moments. And that's a very what's the word, modality, that's a great modality, I think, to being able to handle stress and anxiety and tap into your creativity. I've not really looked at it that way before, so thanks for sharing that. That's a great
Yeah. Yeah.
great testimony there. So what opened your eyes to beauty and creation as one of God's love languages?
Oh, yeah. Again, my anxiety took a lot from me.
Mm,
I had my first panic attack while I was driving home from town, and so driving became a huge trigger, and so I avoided it at all costs. So I was stuck at home. Um, but I also hate. I felt such an oppression being in our home, and I cannot tell you why. I don't know if it's because my studio's here and that brought on a whole lot of other fears. I honestly
mhm.
don't know. So During the first, 2, 3, probably 4 years of experiencing anxiety, all I can do was go up and down our driveway. We live out on the country. Our driveway is, our home is only the only thing on that road. It's a private drive, goes right to the highway. I would walk up and down that for hours at a time, a day. That's all I could do. Um, and I was asking God for help. And I noticed, so we have to bring rock in for our driveway so we don't get mud and ruts, and it's a struggle. And I had been finding pieces of petrified wood for years before. So
Oh,
then I started looking for the petrified wood during my anxiety. And I noticed when I was actively looking for a certain shape, color, pattern in the rocks, my anxiety would lower.
oh,
And so then I started, okay, what else can I find just along our driveway? I mean, we have 17 acres here that's completely overgrown with trees. So we have a lot of beauty here, but I
hmm,
could not get off the driveway um, and explore the rest of our property. So I started, okay, what can I look for just on this road that would help me soothe my heart, so to speak, in my mind? And God brought so much beauty um, to me. I would find little bit of feathers. I mean, we've got over a dozen types, breeds of birds that call our trees home. And so I started finding feathers of all these different birds. I find a broken robin's eggshell, um, wildflowers, the way the we have so many different types of grass that grows along our driveway, and I'm like counting how many different seed heads types I can see. I would cut them, put them in a bouquet. And so um God is in the details, and it is
right.
that's where he met me, and that's where how he started to heal my mind was through his creation. And
That is just so
mm.
amazing to know that it started looking at petrified wood. Like, that is so, wow, that's
Yeah,
amazing. And
yeah,
then just to see the journey that he's taken you on from that moment. I know it hasn't been easy,
no.
obviously. And I know that there still are days where things are a little, whatever. I mean, we all have challenges every day, and I'm not
Mm.
minimizing. I'm just saying you're not alone. And for you to be able to tap into the things that you do is really beautiful. And like I said, I love when you share. Like, it's just such a breath of fresh air,
Oh,
really,
well,
when you
thank
share
you.
your testimonies and you share your stories and you share your photographs and whatever it really is. And I just want you to know that. And I'm so thankful that God has crossed our paths. And I'm so thankful that
Mhm.
you're sharing these parts of your story, because I really believe that it can help somebody else. I mean, that's why if we can go through hard things and then we can turn around and share that with others and say, hey, I understand, and let me come alongside you in some way possible that God allows, and be able to do so. So I'm never going to look at petrified wood the same again. I mean, I love it when we go up to Lake Superior. I love to collect it. And I'm
Mhm.
telling you, there was this one massive piece one time, and it would have taken up like the whole trunk of the car. And I wanted to bring
Oh,
it home because I thought it would make like a really cool like yard art
hmm.
piece, but I should have. I regret it. It was
Yeah,
gone the next time we went. Obviously it washed
yeah,
back out. But anyways, so that's where your moment started of you realizing that God was in all of the little details,
yeah.
and that they were just for you in that
Yes,
moment,
yeah,
right? And it's so neat to hear and see how that's different for everybody. But one thing I'm finding is that everybody that I'm talking to does experience that in some way.
yeah.
Like we're down, we can't, like there's just no more. Right? There's no more I can take in or possibly
Um,
do. And then he shows up in wildflowers or petrified wood or rocks or whatever. So yeah, that's just so amazing to hear. So So now with your creativity, what are some moments that you feel are whispers from God? Like now.
I go back to the details. When with what I just shared, I started taking my phone with me to take pictures of everything that I would find that
Mm,
would, to me, evidence that God existed. I mean, he's in the details, but
right.
started taking my phone, taking a lot of pictures. And then there was a moment that happened that I'm like, I want to remember this as well as I can. Back when I was younger, well, even now, but I would always have problems articulating what was in my mind. There's like, it seems to be a disconnect between my brain and my mouth, and I can never get out what I wanted to say when I was really frustrated or when I was really excited about something. Um, my tongue would get tangled quite a bit, or I would pronounce words wrong, and I still struggle with that. And so my mom encouraged me to start writing things down. That
Mm.
way I could go back and edit it. I could, writing slower than speaking. So it'd give my brain time or my, brain time to catch up with my hands or, vice versa. Like, see, now kind of fumbling is I'm not saying
No, you're
exactly what I
fine.
want to say. But when I started looking at the details and taking pictures, and we had a moment, I wanted to write it down exactly as I remembered. So I would use all five senses.
Oh,
What could I hear at that moment? What could I smell? What was I seeing? And then I would dig out a thesaurus and start looking for the words that best described that moment. So then when I was struggling with anxiety, I could go back and say, okay, God met me here, you know, and I know he is with us at all times,
right.
but when you have anxiety so deep, the fear is completely, it does not make sense of
Right.
why you're so scared. So writing and photography of
Mhm.
what um God um showed me at that moment became a way that he showed himself. And so it's
And continues to do
and
so.
he's still, yes.
Right. And so
Yeah.
you use that mechanism still to
Yeah.
take the photographs and write. And that is just also, there's science behind this, but
Hmm.
the actual writing creates new neural pathways in our brains.
Yes.
And so that allows for healing. And so
Yes.
you didn't probably realize it at the time. And I
No.
don't know that the science was there to back it at the time, but now we know this to be true. And I know this to be true for myself that yes, when I write, um, it's like a renewing of your mind.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So yes. And you are also an amazing writer. So I love your stories. When you post stories, I'm like just sucked into the whole adventure of what
Um,
you're sharing. So again, this is just like a way that we're coming to where we see God creating beauty for ashes with the things that you've had to deal with. And now it's, there is beauty even in the hard stuff.
yeah.
And being able to embrace that is what gets us through. Yes.
Very true. Yeah.
Yeah. So you also take amazing photographs. I absolutely love your photographs and your bird photographs and your dahlia photographs. And yes, you do. You take amazing photos. And I love how you share your life on the farm as well. Just your little glimpses of your garden or your house and like the window light. And it's just so beautiful. You have such a
Oh,
great way of
thank you.
sharing
Thank you.
those moments where God is whispering to you. So anybody
Hmm.
that follows you on social media now knows that a lot of these are God's
Yeah.
whispers to you. So that's wonderful. What are some what are some of the ways in which God has made you?
Mm.
Okay, that how do I want to word this? So, what are some of the divine attributes? So, the things that God has put in your DNA that you feel he's given to you specifically for your life?
Okay.
I mean, I think we've kind of touched on these, but it's good to kind of like pause and think about it for a second in a simpler, a simpler context, maybe.
Right. Growing up, when I realized that artist was a thing and there were master artists, Monet caught my eye and has not let go. And so I'm like, I love the Impressionism, especially his work. I mean, I'm just the brushstrokes and stuff. And I have tried paint in that way. It does it does not work. I am very detail oriented. My dad was a carpenter. I studied architecture and art in college. And so I need perimeters.
Mhm.
A lot of artists abstract or impressionism, or they could just mix media, they can just do all the things. My mind does not work that way. I need to have perimeters or a box to work within. And so I love when I get to measure something out, when it comes to bookbinding or my weaving, the sculpture, I geared towards the architecture of ancient times, columns, the Gothic architecture of, cathedrals or castles. And that is, I'm finally coming to terms with that I'm like, okay, God has made me very detail oriented, and He has also put within me, I guess you call it a need to measure. I don't know. And so, and that, love patterns. And so
Oh, yes.
the medieval, illuminated manuscripts, I am
Mhm.
just thoroughly inspired by. So all the different patterns and the frames and the gold work and the words, I'm just like, yes, that's that's what I want to do. And so I think that's the attributes, I guess you could call, that He has
Right.
put
Yeah.
within me. And I'm
And being able to now be to a point where you're like identifying that and embracing it and moving forward with things that you're going to, be creating in the future. I know you've discussed
mhm,
some of the things that you
yeah.
would like to do, and sculpture was one of those that you mentioned.
Hmm.
And I've seen some of the former sculpture work that you've done, and I was gobsmacked. So it's absolutely beautiful, and I can't wait to see what you make. And just, yeah, identifying and embracing those things that maybe we don't realize are unique to us,
Yeah.
and then being able to just connect that with the Lord and see how He's going to use it in our creativity. Right. So I'm so proud of you doing all the hard work. Like how, I know you haven't had a choice, right? But like the hard
Right.
work to like figure these things out that I think a lot of creatives don't maybe identify with yet. Like, they're not like,
Right.
we're not seeing that, okay, well, I really like to measure and I want parameters. And so listen to this part of myself and maybe I'll be more fulfilled in my creativity,
Right.
versus just creating something because you want to create something, but you haven't tapped into that spark yet. Right. Yeah.
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 Well, living on a farm, I spend a lot of time by myself. So I talk to myself quite a bit. I'm like, okay,
You
what's
and
going on?
Harley have a secret communication,
Yes,
don't you?
yes.
Yes. He's such a good dog.
Yes.
Yeah. He's so sweet. So we kind of have touched on some of your struggles and how God has brought you through them. So let's go on to what are some ways in which choosing courage has helped you grow as an artist?
Oh, yes. I remember last year, that I so wanted to do a type of painting and I was scared. So, because I'm so detail oriented, I wanted to paint a very close up picture of what I find in nature, big, but then paint a small landscape of where I found that to attach to the painting. And I remember going back and forth. I'm like, oh, this isn't going to work. This is, people aren't going to understand it. I went ahead and just just did it, and it was received very well.
Yes, because
So
you're forcing us to see God in the details.
yeah, so it's
You
just
know, yeah.
yeah, yeah, and I'm just like anywhere. I mean, especially the Black Hills, and the landscapes there are just incredibly awe-inspiring. But what makes them inspiring? It's the little things that are there, the ferns and the moss, the lichen, and so courage, stepping out. I found a lot of courage, with my anxiety, finding all those details with God. And I'm like, I want to make that known, but in my own little way. So that
And
was,
I think that you did that very well with with those paintings that you did. And I know you're going to do more because they were amazing.
yes.
Yes. So, how do you silence the inner critic?
Oh, that is still a struggle. I don't know as if I've actually silenced it at all.
Maybe quiet should be, maybe I should change
Yeah.
that question to taming down or quieting, because I agree. I don't think we ever completely
Yeah.
get rid of that inner critic. I think it has to be taken down a notch or two
Yes.
or three. I read somewhere about giving it like a name.
That
Not
might,
today, Julie, or whatever,
I like that.
like it just takes it down a notch. Like, not today. I'm not listening to you
Um,
today.
yeah. Um, I'm working on a body of work of some paintings, and I still sometimes have a moment of where I'm just froze in
Mhm.
fear. It's still a struggle, but I have found that um, I turn on some soft music. I cannot paint to any music that has words. So it's just a lot of
Mhm.
instrumental that is coupled with nature sounds.
Nice.
But I just sometimes I will just dip my finger in paint and just start smearing it on the canvas just to put down some mark,
Hmm.
um, to get me started. I have also found that if I can just create just simply for myself and not for anybody else, that kind of will help quiet that inner critic.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a very, very good point, because when you feel pressure to create something that you want to put out in the world to share with other people, it does take that up a notch versus just
Yeah.
being able to just do whatever. And yeah, right. Good points, good tips. So, where do you feel joy leading you in your faith, in life, and in your creativity now going forward?
Um, I am at I guess, a point, a fork in the road. Do I keep going the way I've been, or for more? And because I feel like God has given me a second chance to experience life, I'm going to take all that I can get. So I have shared that driving became a huge trigger. I would have a panic attack every time I would get behind the wheel, or even if I was a passenger and my daughter or husband was driving, I'd still have panic attacks. And so I had to force myself to drive, and I would just go a little further every time. And so now that I am past that for the most part, I'm like, okay, I cannot sit still. My poor husband, where are you going now? But I'm like, even if I just go drive through our pastures, on back gravel roads. I used to love that. Before anxiety, I would just get my vehicle and start driving the gravel roads around here. And there is beauty here. And so that's where I find joy right now, is just stepping out and experiencing life to the fullest, you know.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
writing about just simple everyday things like picking mulberries in July. And so, yeah, I think
That's
that's,
good. That's great. yeah, and sharing just like things from your garden are just it's just so beautiful to see. And I just yeah, I know I've said this, but it's just so nurturing.
Oh,
It is so nurturing to read and see the things that you're identifying and sharing. And now to know also like the layers of meaning that you're putting into the things that you just are naturally doing. It's become a natural part of who you are to live this life to the fullest
yeah.
and to embrace the blessings that you have. And it's a gift to be able to do that and to remember that and to focus on that, um, and not lose track. And so, good job.
Oh, yeah.
Really, really good job on that.
Yeah.
So,
I remember, wanting to plant flowers, but I honestly didn't believe I was going to be there to see them bloom.
oh,
I mean, that is anxiety.
yeah,
So I just bought some tulip bulbs one fall, and as I was planting them, I'm crying and just say, God, please allow me to see them this spring. And my garden has just grown from there, and so I'm very thankful that he has allowed me
right.
to do that, and it has become a healing place for me as well. So.
So, are there other ways that you have allowed, or so I know we're talking about creativity being healing. And
Mhm.
are there other things that you do as well that you have found to help you deal with and live your best life and not have anxiety rule it? Is creativity like, I know there's your faith, number one,
Yes,
obviously,
yeah.
faith number one, and there's creativity. Are there other things that you're doing so that we know, if you want to share something with the listeners that deal with creativity, or is it faith and creativity that are what are helping you really?
Yeah, I think those are, trying to eat healthier, exercising, all the things that we know we should be doing. Um, but yeah, I think, because I have so many different avenues where I can be creative, each of them offer healing in a different way. But yeah,
Yeah, right. So, besides yourself and the Lord, who are you creating for? How do you hope to bless and encourage others through your art?
um, definitely creating for those that struggle with anxiety, panic
Mm-hmm.
attacks, depression. I have been there. I know sometimes it's hard to see beauty
Mm-hmm.
in those moments. And so, because I love detail and because I like painting close up, I want to invite people in closer to take a look. During the plein air event last year, where I took my two paintings of close-ups with the small landscapes attached, the amount of people that would go up and peer really close to see what was in there, that's start crying. But that's what it's for. I want people to be able to take a moment and
Mm-hmm.
look to see, because painting them, oh, this moss looks like little starburst, or the lichen is, wavy in this direction. I mean, I want people to be able to take a deep breath, and say, okay, everything's going to be okay. It may not seem like it now, but just to give people a break from that fear, from that anxiety. That's what
Mm.
I want my art to be for.
And just to how you just shared that, to know, to see the people actually do that. Um, what a, what's the word? The forethought on your part to do that, right? To think, well, I have this, but I'm going to add this detail because it's making me pause, right? And
Mhm.
so, what a beautiful invitation, because we're not only just looking at an art, a piece of a painting, a piece of art, but you're drawing them in and us in closer. And to know that your whole thought of that was to give people that moment of pause. That's just
Mhm.
another level of just sweetness. So I
Yeah.
love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So let's see. what would your art say if it could speak directly to someone hurting? Now, I know we've kind of touched on that already, but is there anything
Um,
else that you would like your art to say, or just to speak to somebody directly that would be hurting?
um, that God is there. I mean, God showed me so many details in the everyday, and they're beautiful. And that I, he just, I just want people to realize that God is there, and He's got a hold of them.
Yeah, and he cares about
Yeah,
every
yeah,
single detail.
yeah. I mean, He knows the amount of hairs on her head.
Right.
Listen, so He is also detail oriented, obviously, but it's just, I think, a lot of people will walk by a feather and not notice it, of how, the colors change or the iridescence of it, or the way the light shines through a leaf and it looks like stained glass windows. That's what God has shown me. And so I feel it's my calling to do the
Mhm.
same, bring it in front of someone else that needs that same healing that I did.
Amen to that. Amen to that, sweetheart. Oh my goodness. Okay, so is there I think we kind of talked about what fills your creative well, right? I mean
Yeah.
your walks and
Yes.
just taking in God's beauty in your garden. And okay, also, can you pick one? Maybe.
Well,
What beauty are you living today that you once hoped for?
being called to the Black Hills. Um,
Oh,
yeah, it was the one area I had hoped I would live after graduation. Did not work. Um, but God has called me back there for a reason, and just the opportunity to show my work in the John Crane Gallery. That gallery has been there since what, late 90s, I think. And I remember just visiting in college and thought, oh, this is so peaceful here. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think, that
mm-hmm,
that would be a possibility. Um, but also just having the eyes to see the details, see the beauty that a lot of people miss. Um, not that I um, thought I needed it back then, but it's amazing creation, what, how much detail he has put in, and the use of color and
being able to basically it's almost like a servant, being a servant to him, right? And taking these things that he shares with us and a servant in the most beautiful way, and taking these things that he shares with us and then being able to put them back out
yes,
and just to share them in another way.
yeah,
His way is perfect, obviously, but because it inspires us to then share more of that, um in honor of his love and care, I think it's just such a great such a great calling, and being able to follow through with that and listen
mm,
to it and embrace it and not let all the diversions and all the things in life that come at us to keep us from doing his work.
yeah. Well,
And yeah.
yeah, to be honest, I didn't think I would ever paint again, um,
Mm-hmm.
with the anxiety. And now I'm painting, I'm weaving, sculpting. I honestly thought I had lost it all. And he
Yeah.
has given me back tenfold. And it has affected my art, but yeah, yeah, in a good way. And it's just a reminder that he does care for us.
Yeah. Right. So, based on your experiences, what are three things listeners can do today to lean into Jesus through creativity?
Um, I would encourage anyone that I would ever talk to about that dealt with anxiety or panic attacks, or just wanted to lean in closer to Jesus, to take your time to really look at what we're surrounded by, tiny little things. You know, I love flowers. They change throughout the day depending on the light, the cloud cover. They change during the season. And I think that's just amazing to me. You can um, take photographs of any little thing that you're inspired by, or I'm like, oh, I've never noticed this before. Um, then write about that situation using all five senses if you can. Use a thesaurus. Um, that is a big help for me to describe exactly what I want to remember. Um, and then create art from that. We've
Mhm.
talked about this a little bit. When you're writing and creating, it actually changes pathways in your brain to cause healing. And so, um, if you just found an apple, the way the sunlight came through the window and landed on an apple, that's beautiful. I love gala
Right.
apples. There's like, red, green, and yellow. They're all in gala. But sit down and create art from that experience. Um, Even if you don't have to it doesn't even have to be well done to make changes in your brain. It can be done
Right.
with children's crayons, watercolor, just a simple pencil. Write about it. Tell a story of what goodness that God has given you at that moment. And I think just keep them for yourself so you can go back and look at them when days are dark and
And
say,
be
okay,
remembered, be
yes,
reminded. Yeah.
yes, this happened here. It's beauty that I was able to find. So that would be, is
Great.
that
Those
three?
are,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think so. Those are great tips. Thank you. Thank you, Alisa. I so appreciate our time together. And you have so much wisdom, um, for hard fought wisdom
Hmm.
and knowledge,
Wisdom.
and just so much grace and beauty to share. And I'm really excited to see going forward to your YouTube channel,
Oh,
where you'll be
yes.
starting to share more there. And so I will put links in below as to where people can follow you, your YouTube channel, social media, what your social media handle is.
Well, just Alisa Millsap. I
Okay,
do have Ella and Ruby's on Facebook and on Instagram, but I find that I am not that involved in that. It has changed so much.
right.
So just search for my personal page on Facebook.
Okay. And I will
And
link those below.
yeah,
Absolutely. All right. I thank you so much for our time together today.
no, thank you.
And I can't wait to get this episode out and share it with the world with all the goodness that you've shared with us. And I appreciate you. And I'm so thankful for you. And I'm so glad that God crossed our paths and that we're
Yes,
part of each other's
yes,
lives,
me
because you are
too. Thank you.
so encouraging. And I'm so thankful. All right, Alisa, thank you so much. And we will see you on YouTube and on social media.
All right,
All right,
thanks.
bye.
Bye.
I held my stomach, for fear had settled there. It was dusky out, though I didn't know if it was because the sun had reached its western horizon or if it was from the trees blocking almost all the rays, for most everything was a muted gray-blue. There were but a few golden highlights spread out on the leaves overhead, but they were fading fast. We walked along a tunnel of trees. Mosquitoes and gnats flew in my hair and around my face and arms, but I barely registered their bites or buzz. My heart pounded and my breaths were coming in short. I tried to will my brain from thinking worst-case scenario without success. We reached our downward slope. It was covered in pine needles, rocks, and leaves. Grabbing my camera that swung freely from around my neck with one hand, I reached out to grab something sturdy with the other. Stepping forward, I watched as brown, inky water covered my toes and soon my ankles. All I could hear was the beating of my heart in my ears. Murmurs from my husband and daughter sounded distant. I couldn't understand what they were saying. Fear was my only voice. I turned back saying, I can't, I can't, I can't, over and over. My husband soon came towards me, holding out his hand. I grabbed it and noticed it was warm while mine felt like ice. He showed me where to step, leading me to where the vegetation grew taller and balancing here along a felled tree where the earth would be more stable. The ground beneath my feet started rocking gently up and down. It moved. Fear and trust were battling within me. I dared not to look behind me or ahead, only down, watching where I stepped. Dark water filled the divots left by my feet. One step at a time upon that shifting peat moss bog was all I can concentrate on. The fluid ground was unsettling. It heaved, swaying side to side, up and down, like the earth itself was breathing in and out with every step we took. I finally was able to release a bit of fear to look around me. The silence surrounding us was loud, and I noticed a damp, earthy smell, but it was comforting somehow, like the earth back home before a rain, warm and shadowy and mysterious. Soft moss completely blanketed the hole underneath we were stepping upon, like tiny burgundy and fresh green shooting stars. Tall grass and tiny trees emerged from that soft underbelly. A frog jumped. A small pond with a mirror-like surface spread out from the edge of that bog, and the darkness reflected there. I finally came to a spot I most desired to see. A grouping of alien-looking plants. The pitcher plant. There were about 8 or 10 of them spread out over several feet. They matched the color of the surrounding moss, for I had almost missed them. I declared this was as far as I wanted to go. My husband and daughter went on for another 20 to 30 feet ahead, while I solely focused on the beauty before me. I could hear them talking in whispers, so I knelt in that soft carpet with my camera to capture the plant's uniqueness. Their edges, slightly ruffled, rose about 6 to 8 inches above the ground and were covered in burgundy veins against that solid lime green inner fold. Click, click, my camera clicked. Not wanting to let go of the solid tree next to me, I twisted slightly to see the other grouping of plants, but I dared not to move to capture them, so turning straight again, I snapped a few more. My family was back, and I seized my daughter's shoulders as she led me back towards solid ground. Here was a group of mushrooms. Click again. I needed that beauty, that unique formation to focus on in order to get me through without falling into fear again. Another frog. Soon we were back to unshakable ground, and I could feel my heart slowing and my breath steadying. However, the realization of what I just did caused me to be a bit giddy inside. I battled with fear, and I won.